Happy Valentine's Day, everyone! Unfortunately, I don't have a Valentine, but I do have friends and parents. So I got stuff like cool shoes from my mom, a heart-shaped box of chocolates, a teddy bear that I have named Matthew Patel, and I almost forgot, an entire book of teenage angst. Today I read Angel by James Patterson, which is the 7th book in the Maximum Ride series. For those of you who haven't read Maximum Ride in a really long time, here's a recap. The story follows 6 genetically altered bird kids named Angel, the Gazman, Iggy, Nudge, Fang, and their leader Max, who are trying to stay away from the scientists who made them the way they are. On top of everything, Max has to save the world, which is kind of a big burden. The first book is called The Angel Experiment, which is pretty much when Angel, the youngest member of the flock, gets captured by the scientists and they have to get her back. In the second book, School's Out Forever, the flock gets found out by an FBI agent and have to live with her a little while, also go to school, which works out great. In Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, the flock splits in two and they both have to deal with their own troubles on both sides of the world. Then we've got the 4th book, The Final Warning, which is pretty much just a pamphlet on global warming. In the 5th book, Max's mom is captured and they have to get on a giant submarine in Hawaii to save her. There's also some giant mutant whales involved. I can't really summarize the 6th book, Fang, because it didn't really have a point, but there is a new bird kid named Dylan. And now, Angel. It's split into 2 point of views, Max's and Fang. Guess which one is more exciting? In Max's point of view, Max is still dealing with the loss of Fang and also dealing with Dylan, who's kind of a creep, who's obsessed with her because he was made to be her perfect other half, even though the voice said 3 books ago that Fang was supposed to be her soulmate. Come on, voice, be consistent. It all gets a little weird from there. Dr. G.H., Dylan's creator, insists that Dylan and Max should mate in order to make an heir to Max's empire of mutant children. They discover a radical group that's magically hypnotizing people into believing their message, which is pretty much to save the world by destroying it. Meanwhile, Fang is starting a flock of his own, which includes some new faces in the series and the weirdest names that we have seen in these books so far. Fang and his flock discover some pretty awful things about this radical group called the Doomsday group, the same group that Max and her flock have been paying attention to. The 2 flocks have to join forces in order to stop them. This ensues some anguish, adventure, and romantic tension. This book actually reminded me a lot of the 3rd book, Saving the World and Other Extreme Sports, which happens to be my favorite one. For the first time in 3 books, there actually is a solid plot. The 2 separate point of views and Max being with Dylan reminded me a lot of when Max was with Aerie, who Fang also didn't like. Though it's true, the circumstances were different. So if you're a big fan of the first 3 books, but not so much 4, 5, and 6, it's okay to leave Club Bitter now and read the 7th one. I'm happy to announce the words global and warming weren't together in the entire book. Not so happy to announce that the voice only had 1 line. Thanks for the creepy input, voice. I'm also not happy to announce that Dylan is singing again. I hate it when he sings. James Patterson dedicates full chapters to randomly let him sing sappy love songs. And the readers just... What's the point of that? Don't get me wrong, there are definitely more pros than cons. For instance, crazy psycho Angel who ruined everything from books 4, 5, and 6 seems to be gone for good now. There's a wee bit of Iggy and Ella romance. And the flock's new enemy, the Doomsday group, actually seems like a threat. Unlike past threats like Dr. Chu or Bridget Dwyer. Or that half-robot lady who got eaten by a seal. It looks like the Doomsday group can come back for the last book, which would be the first time since Aerie that Maximum Ride has ever had a consecutive villain. I also liked when characters from previous books made appearances. Like Max too, now called Maya. And that freaky schizophrenic tech nerd from the Angel Experiment. The plot was fast-paced and interesting and never once involved a giant squid. Though I am starting to wonder the point of having Jeb around anymore. Like Max's voice, he was important the first 3 books, but now he doesn't seem to have a discernible purpose. Also Dylan. When Dylan was introduced in the 6th book, I assumed it was for a significant change of plot to last until the last book. Dylan was described as really powerful. He had the sight, he could see things other people couldn't see. From where he stood, he could see across the world. I assumed this was going to have a significant part in the rest of the series. But all he did was sing and obsess over Max. All in all, Angel was a huge step up from the last 3 books. A redemption, if you will. Still, James Patterson has a lot to make up for in the last book. Unanswered questions! Like, what happened to the kids in the sewers that Max released in book 1? Where did Mary and Jensen go? What about Anne Walker? And who's Max's voice? Remember, we know it's not Jeb. Jeb can do the voice, but he's not the voice. Here's some questions for those of you watching. How would you rate Angel, a Maximum Ride novel? What's your favorite Max Ride book? Are you Team Fang or Team Dylan? Do you think Jeb and Max's mom are really in on the Doomsday Group's scheme? And how glad are you that James Patterson seems to be done talking about global warming? Subscribe, comment, thumbs up, or thumbs down if you're mean.